Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Richard Scotty. I'm the moderator for the continuation of our endorsement interviews. This is the Veterans in Politics endorsement interviews, now for Congressional District 1. We have a fantastic group of candidates here, and I want to welcome you all to the interviews. Thank you for attending.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to be here today. My name is Dr. Stan Vaughan. I have a PhD in accounting. And I think with the economic problems, that makes me one of the best qualified to deal with congressional budgets. I am currently the WCF World Chess Champion, and that does give me some name recognition. I noticed that the only candidate who is not here is the one that we really need to keep out, which is Dina Titus. And I'm going to Washington, D.C. to try to undo, not to do, but to try to undo a lot of the things that have been done. I am the independent American in the race, and I would encourage you to endorse any one of us here except Dina Titus, who is not here. Okay, thank you. Yes, I would agree with many of the things that everybody on this panel said. One of the reasons that I've gotten two previous endorsements for Veterans in Politics is my thoroughness on research. I'm probably the only one on the panel who has researched every one of Dina Titus's 1,679 votes that she did while she was in Congress. One of the big problems that we have as an accountant that I see is that we're trying to do too many things. I would cut and eliminate all departments except the necessary Defense Department, State Department, Treasury Department for the most part, probably. We're doing way too many things. We're voting on too many nonsense issues like what to name a post office or to declare something a particular day. It's eating up a lot of the time that you're in there, and it's just ridiculous. I served as a 4-H state senator responsible for drafting legislation in Kentucky. I have experience in drafting legislation. As an independent, I could serve on a lot more committees than anyone else would be able to, because if you're in a party, you're doled out with all these different things.
So what do you see as your responsibility to fix that, and maybe do you want to undo Obamacare? Do you want to fix it? Do you want to, leave it as is?
Okay, I'm very hopeful that the Supreme Court will strike down the unconstitutionality of Obamacare, and that I won't have to address that in November. But you're absolutely right. With the chess club, I'm on the boards of the World Chess Federation, American Chess Association, and everything. At the Nevada State Chess Association, we are in One World Wellness Group. And they have a lot of Medicare situations. One of the doctors has put in over $2 million in Medicare reimbursement claims. And what the government ends up doing is saying, well, we'll pay you $500,000. Then they agree to that, and then they're waiting for months and months to get repaid. It is destroying the capability of doctors to be able to provide good care. We've got to eliminate Obamacare. One of the other things is that the second biggest, it's very, very important, I'm sorry to go over on this, but for example, Google was the second biggest donor to the Obama administration campaign, and they are being paid about $800,000 by the government to every time that somebody puts in the search engine Obamacare, it always gets redirected to the government. And that's avoiding any ability for people to, have a different opinion on it.
Thank you.
If you were elected to Congress, and this is a two-question, what would be your biggest budget cut, your emphasis on your biggest budget cut, and what law would you repeal?
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Anyone who doesn't say
Obamacare, because we've already looked at it. He said it would save $2.1 million. We find that it's going to actually cost $4.7 billion. So now you're looking at something like $6.8 billion more than what they promised. That's the obvious.
And what law would you repeal today if you could?
I would also repeal cap and trade, which I call bait and switch, HR 2454. It's going to cost we have mainly a Hispanic district that's poor, and it's going to cost each one of those families about an extra $3,100 a year starting in about 2 or 3 years from now on their energy and related type things. And our families in this district simply cannot afford that extra $3,100 a year.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. As a veteran myself, Rob, this is a very good question, one that I think is very, very important. I want to reiterate Obamacare cost $4.7 trillion, not billion. But at the same time, my opponent, Dina Titus, showed her disdain not only by not being here today, but she voted against H.R. 1500. This would have appropriated $13.3 billion, not trillion like Obamacare, but a billion, a very small amount, $13.3 billion to go to the Department of Veterans Affairs for leukemia, exposure of veterans of Agent Orange, Parkinson's disease, and heart disease. She voted no on that. All right. Okay, I have some important comments to make on this. I happen to also be the local head of the John Birch Society, so I have read every bit about this Agenda 21. In a nutshell, without going into about 17,000 pages of stuff that I've had to go through on it. In a nutshell, the intent is to eliminate, as a congressman, I'm sworn to uphold life, liberty, and property. And the intent here is to eventually eliminate private ownership of cars and to prevent building of private residential homes in the future. They want people to just simply have the government own these things or use public transportation. So, yeah, it may be a long way for them to do it, but they're trying to move toward that, the elimination of private ownership of cars and homes. Okay, you're absolutely right. If you look at the largest contributor to the Obama's campaign last time, and this time it was Goldman Sachs, almost double what the number 2 guy, Google, did. But that doesn't mean they don't get involved with it. They actually helped eliminate Lehman Brothers, which was Goldman Sachs' competitor. So they get very involved to help out their people. If you look at the number of people that are in Goldman Sachs. I am also a small businessman in charge of a barter, business-to-business barter organization. My business is starting to boom because of the involvement of people like Goldman Sachs. They're not just now involved in the housing market. They're now getting in big investment in the biofuels. 3 ears of corn at Costco are $4. For the people in my district who are poor, that's very expensive to pay $4 for 3 ears of corn. We're getting into this H.R. 2454. Dina Titus voted $1 billion for biofuel. Let's turn corn into biofuel. This is all getting into the same thing. This is going to be the next crisis.